Blog Talk Radio. Hi, and welcome to today's episode of 219 GreenConnect, where we explore topics about the environment and green living in Northwest Indiana. For past show archives, news, and upcoming events, you can check out our website at 219greenconnect.com or find us on Facebook and Twitter. Our ID on both Facebook and Twitter is 219 GreenConnect. You can also subscribe to this podcast via iTunes. And today with me, I'm Kathy Sipple, by the way, I'm your host. Today with me, I have Michael Booz. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And you have multiple things that you do, it seems. You're at a very interesting organization called Association for the Wolf Lake Initiative. Did I get that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And I had the opportunity to visit you a couple of months in your office, and it's a very interesting place. Can you tell people just a little bit about what they might find there and how to get there? It's like, especially the stream, the indoor stream, I just thought was really cool.
Sure. But first, I'd just like to explain our mission. The Association for the Wolf Lake Initiative is a not-for-profit organization and land trust dedicated to the protection and improvement of the Wolf Lake watershed. And one of our three goals is to promote the watershed. And so during the year, we have three festivals through which we do this. And we're located at the Environmental Education Center in Hammond, Indiana. And the building features indoor trout stream and other attractions for school children who come to the center for education in reuse and of material.
All kinds of items.
Yeah.
I would say highly recommend for kids, but also adults that have a childlike curiosity. I mean,
right.
It was just such a neat little gem.
There's a neat room where filled with recycled materials, and those are donated by folks in the area, and then redistributed to not-for-profit groups like schools, churches, scout groups, and it's a fascinating place, and it's a fascinating building. So that's where I work. So I have
And I just want to ask, I know I'm asking you a lot of questions, but this is why I love to do what I do, is I get to ask very interesting people great questions that I want to know, and I'm sure others do too. But The name of the building, what is the name of it, and where is the address?
It's the Environmental Education Center, and it's at 2405 Calumet Avenue in Hammond, and it's right across from Wolf Lake. In fact, it's right between Wolf Lake and George Lake, and there's a new pavilion that is a concert pavilion that's across the street.
Great. So good for some outdoor festivals in the warmer weather.
Right, and I think we have our winter festivals on January 19th, and that's what's keeping me busy now.
I bet. You shared the agenda with me, and it looks like some really, really fascinating speakers that will be hosted both at your place, and then you're doing this in conjunction with some folks across the border in Illinois as well. Is that correct?
And it's two venues, and since we're a bi-state organization, we kind of stress, both sides of Wolf Lake. We can't be partial to one or the other. And we have events. In fact, we're praying that the drought ends, and next week we'll have a lot of snow and a lot of cold, because we have scheduled cross-country skiing, skating, ice boating, and we need the weather to cooperate help us out on that. But the speakers are kind of interesting. Dr. Young Choi will be the ecologist from Purdue University Calumet. Will be speaking on his work in monitoring Wolf Lake, and there will be Alan Rezatar, an expert on amphibians and reptiles, and he'll be speaking on those critters. And then we have others. We have one session on the memories of Wolf Lake. We invite individuals to talk about their memories. And we also have one on retrieving Native American artifacts. It's an archaeologist from the area who's been doing this for 40 years, and so he'll be talking about his interest.
It seems like a lot of really good programming. And so if somebody wants to access this whole agenda, we do have it actually hosted on the 219 GreenConnect site, which may be convenient for you, but also I'm sure you've got it on your own website. So let's give a shout out and let people know where they can connect with your organization online.
Right, and that would be at wolflakeinitiative.org.
Okay.
Is our website, and you'll find there information from on all different matters and some videos, and we just try to keep people updated on what's going on at Wolf Lake, what we're trying to get accomplished at any particular moment, and some of the work we've done in the past.
Great. And you do have a Facebook page as well, so if people like Facebook, they can also find you there.
Yes, we do, and I'm not the really high tech guy, so I probably failed to keep it updated as much as I should.
Well, I know somebody that can help you out with that.
I do have others.
Well, I think you came to one of my workshops, which might have been the first time that we met. Is that right?
Exactly. That was several years ago.
Yeah, and I don't often put in a plug for my business, but I do want to say if there are environmental organizations or anybody who wants to further their green message, really anywhere, but particularly in Northwest Indiana, that's what I do. Is I show organizations how to use social media to get the word out. So you can contact me about that. I'm Kathy, and my address for that is Kathy@mysocialmediacoach.com. So anyway, I don't do a lot of underwriting.
I want to mention that talk there really opened my eyes to the possibilities. And so I immediately came back to the offices, and I asked my bookkeeper, I said, do you know a lot about this stuff? And so I do rely on the younger generation to help me out. But it is important, and it's a good way of getting information out.
Yeah, well, I think if we all do our part to spread the word, there are often events like, Winterfest. Frankly, I'm in Valpo. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get there, but I'm so glad for the invitation and the news. And, I can let other people know about it. That's what I really love about social media. If that invitation doesn't work for me specifically, I can still help you out by sharing it, inviting others, and, just putting the word out there, because it just sounds like a fabulous, fabulous time. And so is there any other programming that you'd like to talk about? Anything you're particularly excited about?
As soon as the Winterfest is over, we start on our Wetlands Festival, which is held it's a 2-day event over Memorial Day weekend.
Great.
That's Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
And so that is where we also have activities like canoeing, fishing, hiking. We just try to get youth involved and have them bring along their parents, and then we even have a sunrise service on Sunday at 6 a.m.
Wow!
And we're always interested in getting folks out that might want to join our choir or attend the service. And we usually have maybe a couple projects scheduled after that for restoration work in the area.
Great.
And wherever it's needed. But so we try to get work accomplished as well as celebrating the watershed.
Sounds like a good mix. Well, I think wetlands are particularly fascinating, and I just want to also put in a plug for an event that I organize. It's called Green Drinks. I'm not sure if you've heard of Green Drinks, but it's an international kind of loosely formed organization. Their website is greendrinks.org, and they're hosted in over 600 cities all over the world. I host the one in Valparaiso, where I live, and well, we've got a couple really cool programs coming up, but the thing that reminds me of wetlands is February 11th in Valparaiso. We're going to have Greg Quartucci. I don't know if you've met Greg before, but
yes,
he's with...
I know Greg.
You know Greg, okay. I had the pleasure of hearing him speak on wetlands last year at another event, and he'll be talking about Indiana toll road mitigation, and I believe using native plants to kind of help offset some of the potentially negative effects that can come from roads that are necessary, but there's smart ways to do it. And then another somewhat related thing to that is I had the pleasure of being part of the NERPC, which is the Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission Public Outreach Task Force. Try saying that 5 times fast.
Yeah.
And basically, they're looking for people to be more involved in their plans, like transportation and roads and that kind of thing, and giving people a voice. They're located in Portage, and even though our area isn't all that big geographically, it's sometimes difficult to get to their meetings, and so we're looking at ways that they can use, podcasts, webinars, Facebook to get the word out and allow people who just are limited by their jobs or their transportation availability, or, perhaps they're limited, by a physical disability from getting up to Portage and participating. So we're going to have an open comment session at the next Green Drinks in Valpo, and that will be actually next Monday, the 14th. So that ought to be interesting, because a lot of people that come to our event each month do stand up and say, hey, I'm concerned about this road, or what will the environmental impact be of this plan, and I really want to make sure that those very smart people with the green and environmental, leaning get to have their say and have a look at this public participation plan. And then lastly, if you don't mind, here I am stepping all over your podcast, but Michigan City has launched its own Green Drinks. So their inaugural time, or their inaugural event will be Thursday, January 17th, and they're going to be hosting somebody from Save the Dunes. Nathan Pavlovic will be talking about the Enbridge pipeline, some of the risks that are inherent with that type of pipeline, and what actions you can take. So just like you said, it's interesting to get all this theory, but then people, if they really care about it, want to know, what can I do? Whether that's, a volunteer program or, helping to spread the word. It's not very empowering if you just have to hear about, ooh, this is scary, or here's what's happening to our watershed, and you don't know what to do. So you seem very involved with giving people hands-on experience of, like at the wetlands, what would I do if I came to your event? How can I get involved? At our Wetlands Fest, there are,
as I said, we usually have one restoration project that will be on Sunday morning. We also have a bike ride of the watershed, and it visits some of the important places, either historically or current, and so people kind of understand what's involved with the watershed culturally and historically. We also have, as I said, we want youth to experience paddling a canoe,
Mm-hmm.
and so most of the ones that show up for the event have never been in a canoe before, and so that's rather gratifying to us that we can get them out and experience some of that outdoor activity. And we also have a fishing clinic and archery, things that keep folks active. And in fact, we have another festival in the fall we call the Active Living Fair, and that's to help keep individuals active, and both parents and their children. So, and I just might mention on Greg's talk that's coming up, the Indiana Toll Road bisects Wolf Lake, and they have, and we are interested in, and we've spoken to the Indiana Toll Road folks about restoring some of their land that goes along the toll road. And also we were interested in developing a campground where users of the campground would be required to do some restoration work, and that would include land from the toll road.
That sounds cool. Kind of like ecotourism or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, where you wouldn't charge for, say, a group of scouts to come out, but when they come out and run their canoes and for a day or so, then the next day we'll say, oh, by the way, this is what we're trying to do here.
Yeah,
so,
I bet that would go over well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not our land, but it's their land. It's other people's lands, and we can. No one is doing even travels on it probably for. But it, so anyway, that's kind of futuristic, but that's what we've been working on, and hopefully someday we can do that.
Yeah, well, I hope I have not made this a painful experience to be on the podcast, and maybe you'll come back and tell us, once that develops into, more of a solid thing, and let us know how that's going.
Yeah.
I'm just really encouraged by all of the very, interesting things that are going on in our area, and I think, a lot of us kind of have our nose to the grindstone, and we're doing what we're doing, and we're not able to connect the dots. So that's really my hope with 219 GreenConnect, is to allow people to plug in to the volunteer opportunities that sound interesting, or, the events that sound interesting, and just help activate and encourage the people who need to get out there and get plugged in to do so. So, so we've talked about the Winterfest, which, again, tell us the date.
That would be Saturday, January 19th.
Okay. So not this weekend, but next. And then
next weekend when it's going to get cold and we're going to have lots of snow.
Lots of snow.
We need that for cross-country skiing. And we've been lucky in the past. We've had snow here when no one. Last year, the only weekend we had snow was our winter festival. So. Oh wow! So you guys have your own little microclimate over there. Exactly. Yeah, I like it. And then I think there's one other thing that I've seen that you do too, and it was called, and I've never made it. I thought it sounded so great, but a greening of the arts tour. Yeah, what we do is this is what we do in October, and we try to combine art that's made of reused materials, and then and to show it, so we have artists. We have 2 weekends. The first one is a tour of galleries and artist studios, and the second week is a display of the art by a select number of artists, usually about 10, and then we have speakers on the the nexus of art and nature.
Okay.
And then usually the art exhibit is continued at another location. And this year it was at the Bernard Gallery at the Calumet College of St. Joseph's, which is less than a mile from the Environmental Education Center.
That's convenient. Yeah, it looked really interesting. I have to say, some of these events that you do, they seem very cooperative in nature, which I really like. I can appreciate that probably takes exceptional amounts of planning. But and I'm not the only one. This area has so many not-for-profits working on the environment, and that we're really lucky, and it's just not Northwest Indiana, but Southeast Chicago and the South Suburbs. Yeah,
so,
sure.
And there's a lot of groups, and we all have our own thing to do. And I've over the years I've learned to stay focused on what our mission is.
Right. And so your mission again is to preserve the Wolf Lake watershed.
Correct.
Okay.
And because it's a bi-state lake. We're a bi-state organization.
Okay. And I had the pleasure of getting to listen in on a talk at Green Drinks that Jennifer Birchfield from Save the Dunes did on watershed. So that was really interesting. That was probably 2 years ago now.
Okay.
But she shared a map with us, and I don't even think that Wolf Lake was on that map, probably because it is getting a little bit off to the west.
Right, and half of it's in Illinois.
Right.
And so some folks are kind of scared away by having to deal with people on both from both states. But we've been doing that for 12 years, and that's kind of the reason we exist.
Well, just in the interest of full disclosure, I have lived in both states, so I am not anti in any way. But I did intentionally name this group and this site 219, which is a nod to our area code, just because there are some programs that are challenging and are, for better or for worse, state-centric or county-centric or whatever, or, the Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission, so I wanted a place where we can focus on that, but I do periodically, have guests that are from Illinois. They're not banned in any way. Chicago has a lot going on. Their Green Drinks program is just huge, compared to ours, so I, want to make sure that we have our own little limelight, but welcome.
I think it's important to do that, and but also to spread out when it's called for.
Right. Well, exactly. You can get a whole lot more done when you're working together.
Exactly, and so I know you're doing a good job in getting the word out, and that's important for all of us who are concerned about environmental work in the area. So.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us, this is Kathy Sipple. I'm the host of 219 GreenConnect, and my guest today is Michael Booz. He is the Executive Director at the Association for the Wolf Lake Initiative in Hammond, Indiana. And we're just talking about their upcoming Winter Festival, which is coming up in the not-too-distant future. We're wishing for snow. And then also talking about some options that people may want to check out for future in the warmer months. I just want to talk, too, about watershed, because I think that's an interesting thing that maybe some listeners, are not so conversant with. I mean, would you feel comfortable taking a stab at explaining a little bit of watershed or how that...
Of a watershed, yes. It's a point where from which water drains, and so for the Wolf Lake watershed, that would include George Lake and Powderhorn Lake and Prairie, and those are the main water areas, and then just in the land around the lakes.
Okay.
And it's and I don't think anyone has drawn a map of the watershed. We wrote our vision document 10 years ago, and so we did define what we consider the boundaries of the watershed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But because it's two states, watershed has to, you have to manage a watershed as one watershed, and historically it's been kind of managed as two watersheds.
Yeah, because water really doesn't know that it's in one state or another.
That's right, and the
it
fish,
pretty much flows where it flows. Yeah.
They don't have license plates or anything, so you don't know where they're from.
That would be really strange if they did, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But we have the Lake County, the Forest Preserve District of Cook County is in charge of places like Eggers Woods, as well as Powderhorn Lake. The Illinois Department of Natural Resources manages the Illinois side of Wolf Lake.
Okay.
The city of Hammond manages the Indiana side of Wolf Lake, as well as George Lake. So we have different folks involved. The Indiana Department of Natural Resources has actually been doing periodic studies of fish in the area. Mm-hmm. And we have Lake County that owns property, brownfield, on the south side of Wolf Lake. So when we work to improve and protect the watershed, it involves a lot of partners, and you normally can't do something on one side of the lake without it affecting the other side of the lake. So
a very, very good point.
So we are trying to promote this cooperative venture, mm-hmm. and sometimes successfully and sometimes not so. But it keeps us focused, and it keeps us busy.
Yeah, it's like, what would happen if nobody was focused on it? You might not reach every goal, but you got to try, right?
Well, but there's so much you can do mm-hmm. when you're working together.
Oh,
and ideas. The more people you get to the table, the more ideas that pop up, and it's sometimes things that you haven't really thought about before, mm-hmm. but it can be a solution to a problem that's been bugging you. So it's so we try to promote this bi-state effort in a way. We get everyone involved.
Well, I applaud your offers, Michael. Your work. I see that we're just about out of time, so I think I'm going to need to invite you back to talk about some of your future plans and your other festivals as we get a little bit closer. So I hate to cut you off, but I didn't want you to get into the middle of a really important sentence and have it end.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me on, and
you're very welcome.
I hope I've educated a few.
Well, good. Thanks again, and I just want to promote your website so that people can get additional information. Again, this is Kathy Sipple with 219 GreenConnect. We've been talking with Michael Booz from the Association for the Wolf Lake Initiative, and you can find out more information about their Winter Wonderland Festival coming up on Saturday, January 19th and Sunday the 20th on their website, wolflakeinitiative.org, and you can also go to their Facebook page right from there. Thanks so much for joining us, Michael, and I hope you'll be back with us sometime very soon, and I'm going to pray for snow. How about that?
Thank you very much, yes.
Okay. Have a great day, and thanks so much for being with us.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks.